District Student Wellness Initiative. Pursuant to RSA 198-20B, this hearing begins at 6 p.m. So I will open the hearing, and you can see the packet. There is some information about this. Lovely donations from the Burn Foundation. Do you have anything to speak to this at all, Amanda? Or?
Do you want to add anything about it?
No, I think we talked about this before.
Yeah, we have.
The Dartmouth Hitchcock collaborated with Wellness and Healthcare, so very generous of the Burn Foundation. Glad to have it.
Yep. So this goes to help work with our student mental health and such, student wellness initiative. All right. Any public comment?
Thank you, Dorothy.
Thank you. Any further comment from the board? Any questions? Anything else?
Appreciation to the Burn Foundation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And this will help with the sustainability match that is required, I believe. For
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. All right. Then seeing as how it is 6:03, we'll close the public hearing, and we'll open our regular scheduled school board meeting, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise and join. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First up, we have approval of the minutes, public and non-public, from October 11th.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes from October 11th, public and non-public.
Okay.
I'll second.
Any discussion? That's the budget committee, that's fine. Like that, isn't it, from there? Yes.
So I know that I am going to be abstaining from this, but I just wanted to point out on the public minutes, the date at the top says Tuesday, August 23rd.
Yes.
I wish.
But I know that it was the right stuff.
So, all right. And you can put Danielle as excused absence, she told us ahead of time. And on that note, Candace did tell me last time that she would not be here tonight. So, any other comment on minutes, public or non-public? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes, public and non-public, from October 11th, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Abstentions? One abstention. All right. Thank you. All right. Public comment. Anything from the public comment tonight? Not at the top of the meeting?
I'm good.
All right. Okay, continuing business. Student representative report. First up. Hello, Sophia. Welcome.
Hi. Some things going on lately. We just had a Halloween dance. Not a huge turnout. I think people had fun though. Student council, I know junior class right now is looking for prom venues. We've been exploring a couple different places, figure that out, book that. I know that there's a Washington DC trip happening. We're doing some fundraising for that this coming weekend, and in the future some more. I've heard a lot of talk about, I know we have the bus issue, obviously is a huge issue. There was a lot of talk the last couple of weeks about students having to leave super early for sports games to get there, which is unfortunate because obviously they're missing out on a lot of classes. There's also a lot of students interested. I know last year we did one student bus to go watch the games.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of students interested in that, obviously, if the shortage was dealt with first, but people definitely are interested in that. I don't think there's much else going on right now.
All right.
I don't think I missed anything.
Any questions for Sophia? I'll put you on the spot, but I don't know if anyone had any questions. Yeah, we do try to get a bus, like if they make the playoffs.
Last year we did it for basketball once, I think.
That's right. They made Final Four, right?
Yeah, and that was a huge turnout.
That was exciting. So.
Really good, yeah.
Yeah, I know we've gone like for field hockey. I remember going. I know football has gone when they've gone to the playoffs. So yeah, if one of our teams goes deep, we'll figure out a way to make it happen.
Definitely.
We'd love to bring a whole bunch of our students.
Yeah, I know that Salt is also trying to figure out how to do stuff like that, big sportsmanship, stuff like that.
There's we'll have home field advantage for boys soccer through the first 2 rounds.
Yep.
And so it would be Manchester Memorial for the semifinals on Wednesday the 2nd, and then the championship game would be Sunday the 6th.
Wow, that's fast.
Yeah, so yeah, it's Wednesday, Sunday,
Boom, boom,
Wednesday,
boom, boom, boom.
Sunday, yeah.
And they start tomorrow night, right?
Start tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah.
That'll definitely be a big turnout here.
Yeah, it's at 3, so
Yeah.
people come down
Stay.
after
Right after
school,
school,
and
yeah.
then Sunday,
Cheer 'em on.
hopefully,
Yeah.
we'll be still playing.
Yeah.
And usually to support, if we have teams that go deep enough so into a Final
Yeah.
Four, we'll have the Athletic Boosters has been providing tickets somewhere in the vicinity of 20 or 25 tickets for students, because those
Yeah.
are like
Yeah.
$5 each or something, so.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Cool. You're free to go whatever you want. So I mean, if you have a ride coming, great. I don't want to make you stay through the boring stuff, but
Okay.
you're free to.
It's not boring, but just so
I
you
love
can
it.
get out of here. So.
No, I'm just saying if you have to go at any time, like 7, whatever.
Okay.
It's okay. All right. Budget committee. So this is just a recap of what happened at the budget committee last week. Hope, did you want to speak to that?
No, I mean,
Okay. Don't.
There we go.
it was basically the CES and the EVS budgets were done together, which I think is working really well.
Yeah.
The CES budget was up, it looked like 8.56% overall. Its biggest drivers, it looked like, were repairs.
Mm.
They have some doors and lights to do in a couple rooms, and a carpet, which are all things that really need to be done. And then the EVS, it looked like they were up 1.73%. And that looked pretty, there really wasn't anything surprising in there. I don't, one of the things that got brought up, and it got brought up again at the last night's meeting, is that we've been talking about, having to do some of these, like lights and sustainability kind of things that we're beginning to look at more. That there's a possibility of thinking about like a sustainability or energy efficiency capital reserve. So we're hopefully going to be talking more about that. I think it's a good thought yourself. But other than that, it's all there for everybody to see
Yeah.
in minutes. So.
Any discussion from the board? Any thoughts? Yeah. go ahead.
The only thing I'd mention is I thought it was really useful, Amanda, to have the historical
Yeah,
background,
that's true.
especially because there's a number of new people on that budget committee, relatively new, sort of have
Yeah, historical
the
votes.
voting.
Yeah.
And
That's
that's
voting
in the back
records.
of our packet.
Yeah, it's in this
today.
packet as well, and
Very
I think that
Yeah,
is
that was
is
very
helpful to
helpful.
see, so they could go back and see when we weren't passing budgets in this community, what were those increases, or
Yeah,
what were we presenting? And when we did get budgets to pass, what were we doing to make that happen?
Yeah, any kind of historical perspective is always helpful.
Okay. All right. That's on that. Next we have finance facilities. Give you a quick rundown on that. Corrado gave his report, getting everything ready for winter, managing the heat systems. We talked a little bit about, I talked about, and this kind of goes with what Corrado's been doing at the budget committee meetings, talking about not kicking the can down the road and spending a little bit of money now so we don't have to spend a lot of money later. So a lot in the budget you'll see, like fix this door, fix that, little things that need to get done now, otherwise later it'll be more expensive. Talked about coming back to CIP. I'd like to talk about possibly a handicap bathroom over there, but we can talk about that later. Just because when you're in the auditorium and you are in a show, you can't get to the bathroom if you're handicapped. So Talk about that, and then let's see. Obviously, we talked about buses. I am curious to know what Butler's plan is for buses being stuck in driveways, because they had that last year, and it's not starting on cold days, so I'm curious on that. Talked about driver's ed, and did some policy work. So, that. Anything else? Any questions or anything? Okay. All right. Up next, we have Communications Committee report. Danielle, you want to do this?
Sure. We had our normal standing items, looking at website and app usage, so you've got that in the minutes. Steph gave a really great and thorough update on AV Club, so again, you can see all the different types of events and activities that are being streamed and our students are involved with. Then we talked a little bit about esports, because of the dovetailing with the AV Club kind of stuff. And when we talked about the utilizing the auditorium as a community resource, we probably need to look at our policies that relate to community use of facilities, specifically with the auditorium and the charges associated with that, so that we can be more in line with what the going rate is. Because it's been since we renovated the school, essentially, since we looked at that policy and updated that charge mechanism. So. And then lastly, we asked to have emails reminded about budget meetings. So again, when they are saying, when community members and others are saying that they hadn't known about the budget committee, that we have in fact gone out of our way to make sure that people know that things are happening. Any questions? Our next meeting is December 1st. And any other questions?
You guys talked about adding student workers so you could do more, and that's paid.
Yeah, and we were talking specifically about athletic events. That's something that I know the Royals Athletic Boosters had during COVID, when we had to start live streaming things because there was no spectators. We were paying an outside company to do some of that, but now that we have it in-house, there could be support through a mini grant so that students could be paid for that after they've gone through thorough training.
The reason I asked is I remember last night at the budget meetings that was not funded, that line. So
yeah,
so you said it would be grant, or maybe it needs to be funded.
yeah.
We actually supplement the payment for student workers through the substitute line.
Okay, yeah.
Because I asked the same question.
Yeah, especially for the summer.
Yeah.
So useful. But yeah, so that would be a mechanism
I would hate to see you
help
get
with
them
that
and then
coverage.
oops.
Right.
No, we can pay them.
No. We would, if that's a worker if that's a skill that they learn, you pay for it.
Absolutely.
Really
Absolutely. And it would be beneficial for both the students and for us as an
Yeah.
organization to help to really grow that talent base, that skill base from
Something
from
they can
within.
put on their resume.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So nothing else. Superintendent report.
So you do have my report in your packet. It starts with bus transportation, as every day of my life so far has started. So we did have a recent resignation. I believe that was last Sunday, the 16th, that evening. A driver resigned, so we had to put the old routes back in place. So we've continued with the old routes. We did have 9 and 10 would have been able to be split up starting on Monday the 17th. We had sent out notification to parents, and we had a driver quit. So we were lucky to have that new driver, and actually I can say last week I think all the buses might have run on time-ish. Certainly not as poor of performance as we have had previously this year. So, we just continue to move on. I do thank both administrative assistants, that would be Tina Buckwald and Debbie Davis. I called them on a Sunday night and said, can you please get notification out to parents that the bus routes are the same old bus routes, and they did it. So very, very thankful that we have employees like that on a Sunday evening are willing to take my call and to jump into action and to take care of our kids. First quarter's coming to a close very quickly. We're encouraging students that, especially at the high school level, that may be on the DRF list to get those grades up. I know Tina Fleming with her Flex Day and other initiatives is really working with various students to make sure that our grades are pretty good, looking at having less credit recovery over the summer and more credit do it now. So that's pretty helpful. And next week I'll be traveling to Washington, D.C. I will be there with the Enfield Village School Principal, Jamie Winnie, with the former principal, Harrison Little, and with kindergarten teacher extraordinaire, Kathy Estes. So we will all be there to accept the honor and award for the Blue Ribbon School for Enfield Village School. Pretty exciting.
Yeah, have fun.
Pretty exciting.
Congratulations, tell Harrison. Thank you. Congratulations. All right.
What day is that?
So I will be there Thursday. I'm flying out Thursday. Everybody else is going Wednesday. I'm flying out Thursday.
Day off.
And then so I will miss some of the portion of Thursday morning. I'll miss that, but I'll live. And Friday is the celebration day and the ceremony and the awards ceremony. So,
All right.
Flex time anyway.
yeah.
Better use some of that vacation time.
Any questions for Amanda?
I'm curious about the communication between Butler and like when something like that happens, I guess I don't understand how. So they just call you and say, oh well, or, so is there any onus on them to get the communication out, or do they have a way of, how do we communicate with parents about that?
We do it. We do not give them access to our communication system. So it is typically in the mornings, when we would have issues, they will email Candy at the SAU office because she's in at the crack of dawn or before. So they'll email Candy and Tina and Debbie Davis or whichever school admin assistant is involved, and as well as the SAU, or call in, and then they immediately send things out as quickly as they can. Sometimes as quickly as they can turns out to be 7:30 or 7 o'clock, even when some kids have, been waiting for the bus for half an hour.
So does it go out on School Messenger?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that goes to everybody's like phones or?
We are currently working, I know some schools, I know CES currently has a list of all their bus riders, so it only goes out to those riders.
Right.
I'm not sure the high school and the middle school have tailored those lists quite yet to exactly those riders. So I believe those go out as full school blasts right now,
Right.
but there's no need for that, right? We have enough technology to be able to do it by school bus and ridership.
So, so it doesn't, I was reading an article about transit companies and how the communication is key. And that was in one of those little enterprise things in the paper, and how they use a transit app. So does the school messenger work for you guys? Or?
Absolutely, because we send out, remember, it can go out by a text message and an email.
And it's quick and fast.
It's quick, it's
Okay.
very, very good.
Because they had something about 16 best school bus routing softwares that,
Yeah,
would do
those
all
will be
this for
nice.
you, but
Yeah.
it's
Those
not
are-
necessary.
Those are nice when they work.
Yeah.
See how that'd be tough.
Well, I mean, honestly, this is another thing I'm thinking this is really Butler's problem.
Yeah.
Ideally, they would be the one to take care of it, but I see, you can't.
Yeah, it turns into call Amanda at, Sunday night
Right.
and hope she
I
sees
mean, it should be
it.
there,
Yeah.
putting the communication out and, like you said before, taking the heat, so to speak, but.
It's what we do that's best for our families, right?
Yeah, I
So-
understand that, that's.
But you're exactly right, Hope. Like, these ladies know, these ladies have been screamed at and called things that they've had to look up on Google, and I'm not kidding.
Yeah,
They've taken abuse like that from parents,
right.
and they know that it takes, if they can just send that message out before they take the abuse, at least parents can readjust for the
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, the night before is always better than the morning.
Always better.
Always better,
Yeah.
that's for sure. But neither one of us got notices, and our kids are not on at 9 or 10.
Oh, great.
So high
maybe
school
school's
might
all
have
set.
been,
Yeah.
I don't know. So
Excellent.
I didn't hear about that until.
I know they were working on it. The last time we had a bus issue, I know that they were all of a sudden like, oh shoot, we do need to get those updated. So then they had done that.
Yeah.
Unless they just think my kid doesn't take the bus. in
Yeah,
which
same-
case,
same.
that might also be the case.
Yes.
It doesn't take a bus.
It takes every now and then.
Last time Tim said something, it was in the minutes, that we should be thinking about what we want to add to the contract.
Oh yeah, for the bus
Butler?
contract, yeah. Just
Can
in general
we
for a
see
bus
it?
contract. Yeah.
Sure, I'll bring it to financial facilities.
Okay, yeah, I've never seen it.
Yeah,
I'll
Yeah.
see it, I don't know.
Sure.
making it a little stronger for us.
Yeah, everybody wants
We
it.
still have one year left.
No.
Is that correct, or is this the
Uh,
final?
we
This is the
have-
final year.
We have the option to take one more year, or we can go out to bid.
Yeah.
The last meeting I
Gotcha.
asked to put it out for bid.
So we know what Bruce's did.
I already did. Last meeting I asked for that.
So yeah.
Where does that final decision lay with the board?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
We
we've
can
done
just-
that before.
We can just vote and say we're gonna put this out to bid in the spring and just plan on it, yeah. But, I mean, we can wait until closer to the spring, I would imagine.
Well, I think we need to refine what
Yeah.
meets our needs.
Yeah,
first.
we'll start with that, yeah.
Like you said, work on it.
Yeah.
Sounds
You know,
good.
like things like the buses not having, electric starters for winter time. Like, that was surprising to me that Butler did not have that, like, accommodated, like having, I have like those diesel engines, you can plug them in to keep the engine block warm. And so we had a number of buses that just couldn't start last year when it was super cold, so,
Yeah,
things like that.
that's just common sense in this area. So.
It is, it probably is already in the
You let
contract.
them sit during vacation. You don't run them during vacation. You let them sit up there and then, 10, 20 below zero for a whole
No.
week and
They
you
need
won't stop
It was
it.
still,
the engine block warmers,
yeah,
that's
if they
for
had
sure.
the lock warmer on it, it wouldn't matter how long it sat, as long as it was done 24 hours before they wanted to start
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I saw in Lebanon High School, they have a whole bank of power block starters, like just sitting there at buses compartment.
Right.
All right, anything else for Ann? Yeah, bus fun? Fun bus stuff? No?
That's done.
There is no fun this time.
All right, business administrator's report. Rob?
Good evening. I'll start out with the Blue Ribbon School Program recognition that Amanda's going to go to DC next week for. We received a $1,000 donation from Friends of Mascoma to help defray some of the costs for supplies for celebrations at the school. That's in your new business to approve. Thank you to Friends of Mascoma. In addition, we processed a grant for, it's the Momentum Grant for the CLIF, the Children's Literacy Foundation. It's a continuation of a grant we already approved last year, and this is just helping to continue the work in literacy, started from the Book of the Year of the Book grant from previously. And lastly, I have to apologize to the board for an oversight. If you remember the last board meeting, I had to scramble to get a contract in by 11:59, and it made me think of, did I make the last one for the oil bids? And apparently I had not. So the bid expired, and I wanted to put it out to bid again. Unfortunately, prices have increased significantly, and both of our suppliers that I sent bids to are no longer doing fixed price bids, which is a problem. But the solution is our rep at Irving, they follow the state of New Hampshire contract pricing, which is a rack price, which is sort of like a wholesale plus 15 cents per gallon. Dead River Company came in at rack price plus 20 cents a gallon. So the recommendation will be to stick with Irving for the time being. I just learned about a half an hour ago to read an Opus report, which is the wholesale pricing out of Boston every morning for petroleum products. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll do the best we can. I'll try to minimize the impact of this oversight as much as possible. And when they do open it up again to have fixed price contracting, I'll send out more bids. So my apologies to the board, oversight on my part. The good news is propane, we locked in at 148, and the average price of propane right now is at 373. So you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, that's stuff.
Wow.
And we'll, and home heating right now is something.
Yeah, I just filled up my tank and it was over $1,200. It was
Right.
painful. It was 5 something.
The price of right now,
It's
for
like
today's
$5.40.
rack price plus 15 cents was like $4.50 something.
Yeah.
So we're still getting a better deal than residential, and we're getting the state contracted price. So I think that's the best we can do for right now.
When you're talking about wholesale prices, I thought you were gonna get yourself an oil truck.
I had thought of it, so.
Any questions for Rob?
So the old contract was for $1.40, 1.487, and now we're looking at $3 or something, or
For,
for the Irving oil.
No, that was propane.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
propane?
Yeah,
Oh,
propane we locked in at
okay.
147.
yeah, the
Okay.
retail price right now is $373, but we got it for $148.
Okay.
But the heating oil is a backup for the pellet, correct?
Yeah, at least it's not our main.
It's not our
Yeah.
name.
And
Yeah,
our pellet
nearly as
contract
much
didn't
we
go up
used to.
very much, only by 10 cents a ton.
So hopefully it's just gonna take the edge off it and
Right.
Yeah.
we won't get in too far.
And hopefully it doesn't get like, because Corrado was explaining how on days when it goes below 20 degrees outside, that's really when the oil furnace wants to work a lot more. So
Yeah.
hopefully we don't have a lot of below 20 days. That's what we're hopeful.
There is a warning.
Yep.
So are you in a fuel club, is what you're saying? You ended up able to join a sort, a state?
No, I can
fuel
just read, I can get the daily price of the, I'll watch the prices fluctuate day to day. And if we need oil, I'll keep an eye on facilities. And it's like, do we need oil this week or can we wait a week and see how prices
club?
go?
So it's too late to get into any kind of contract? Is
A
what-
fixed price contract, yes,
Okay.
right now.
They'll do that again at some point.
That can change in a month, that can
Yeah.
change in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are fuel clubs, like, I'm a member of one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be late for that.
It's usually in July. but-
They probably also don't like having us with however many thousands of gallons.
Right.
Tens of thousands of gallons. It would be bad to join an oil fuel club with other schools, but that's another conversation. Anything else for us?
State line.
I have a question on, it was a couple meetings ago when we did the MS 25, the DOE 25,
Yes,
and we didn't really see it.
okay.
Do you, were you gonna give it, is
I
it
had,
online or?
I can make copies, I can send it to you, I can put it, I have to put it in this school board meeting packet.
It's up to you guys, just, I couldn't see it online and we didn't really get to see it.
Okay,
So,
I'll have Martha drop it in this meeting's packet, just so you can see it.
or next meeting's fine, or whatever,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
So, Tim,
Yes.
we got a 10,000 gallon tank for oil, correct?
Yes.
Underground tank.
Mhm.
So have Corrado stick it, see how much is in there, and if we don't have to we don't have to fill it at all
True.
this winter, we can wait until springtime, because with no way in heck we're gonna use 10,000 gallons
That's
of oil. So that way, you don't have to spend any money on the oil thing, if you keep track of what's going on in there, in the oil reserve for the tank.
No, I'll keep in touch with facilities and make sure.
Yeah, well, I'm on the
We'll only
facilities, but
order
we're just
when
saying,
we need
yeah,
to.
with Corrado, and that way you don't have to spend any money on the oil account. That way you won't get, we won't have to pay
Yeah.
out, so I would suggest that
No,
you
I'm gonna
hold off,
as long as possible.
hold off as long as you can, because even if they have to put in, if you think if it gets down, quite a bit, then you put 1,000 in or whatever, but if you don't have to put any in and get through the whole winter without putting any in, we've gone through past years without tapping into that thing much at all.
Yeah, very minimal. I would, maybe look back at past years and how much
Yeah,
we've used
and
oil.
I would just have Irving give you a breakdown on the price on what's going on, but if you don't have to put any oil in there, don't do it. Don't do it. I mean, that would be my business end of it, saying that, we've got other backup, we got, I would say, we got 10,000 gallons in there now, or we got quite a bit in there now. I can't envision us going through the whole winter depleting that thing down, and that way, what we have budgeted for oil could be,
Yeah.
taken care of next year.
I hope all schools have a decently full tank. So.
I don't,
Yeah, I hope they do.
that's my suggestion.
Good.
You're absolutely right,
Yeah,
because
good point.
it isn't our primary source, and we can put our money into the pellets.
Yeah.
Because we have a contract on it,
Yeah,
and save the oil.
yeah, just hold off, just hold off.
Let it ride,
Just
let it
try
ride.
not put anything in at all, I mean, just make, but the thing is, you gotta, and I know, I've done this, but you need to have them see how much is in there now, stick the tank and,
Just
see what's in there, see what's in there right now.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Anything else for Rob? All right, Rob, real classy. All right, co-curricular update. Do we have anyone to present this, or is it just kind of more informational? But this is a cool, I thought this was very handy for co-curriculars, talking about all the different clubs at the high school level and the athletics on the other side there. Just keeping you up to date with what they've been up to so far in the first quarter. Busy.
Yep, so I have asked Steve Stebbins to continue this. He has a lovely spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I believe the board had asked for a monthly update on co-curricular stuff, so you'll see it the second meeting of every month. But Steve really is reaching out to the club advisors and having them just fill in the spreadsheet as they're doing new activities. So I'm not sure that this will, they won't add to this. I'm not sure what the format will be, but I was pretty pleased with what Steve had put together, and I thought this was a nice report.
This is, yeah, I like this a lot, and I mean, he can play around with his formatting as he gets a feel for it until he feels what works best for him and us and whatever, so. But this is great, because this also will be good to have that whole list of everything kids have done.
Right.
And then at the end of the year, like, what are our kids up to? Some of the communities, like, what are they doing? Well, they went out and they did a trash pickup, and then they did a car wash, so that sort of thing, so. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
The only thing that I would say is when I had to, I mean, I knew what it was when I started reading it, but it doesn't say that it's the high school. And we do have co-curricular at other schools as well.
Yeah.
So that would be the only suggestion. CPL is pretty self-explanatory. We only have the one CPL, so that
He
was
can be proud of it. He can put his name on it, too.
Yeah.
Sure,
You
I'm
should
gonna
be
put
proud.
his name on it.
And we can also utilize these. We can put these in the packet for co-curricular meetings,
Yeah, sure.
for folks that are
Mhm.
in that.
All right. Any questions on that? And then, like you saw, athletics on the back, there's a nice update on athletics, so that's really, really cool.
I have a question for Sophia. Did you notice that was the fall co-curricular fair, sort of?
Oh yeah, the clubs, the day that they had the flex day where everyone had to go to a club.
How did that?
I was in the SALT meeting. That was a huge turnout, but I think most kids were like, oh, SALT, easy, I'll go there, because they didn't really want to go anywhere else. So I am not familiar with what happened in every other club, but regardless of the kids that did not really want to go anywhere, there were some kids definitely that have committed to SALT now, and it's a much bigger team now. So I'm not sure if the same happened for other teams or clubs. I know a lot of these clubs are not super huge, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think the SALT club definitely, as it said, we had our first successful meeting, and I think that's definitely developed more as well.
Cool. All right. All right. CPL update. So here's a little update from the CPL downstairs, or the however you want to say it. Amanda, did you want to speak to this?
Sure. So we really looked at creating alternative pathways for some of our students that need a less traditional classroom approach. So what you'll see is Bernadette, right, is currently in there as the coordinator, and she is looking at expanding that program, right? This is the first time since COVID we'd really be able to push ELOs, so we're working on pushing those. VLACs for students that, are just better able to learn in that way, or are taking a course that we don't necessarily offer. We have that opportunity for them there. She's also helping kids maybe that are looking at taking a high set as a pathway out of high school, or a temporary pathway out of high school. You can always come back and get your diploma if you're a high set kid. So I did have Rick Simula write up a little update just so that you all know what's happening. I feel like it's a program that's finally starting to go the direction that I wanted it to. And it certainly is at the infant stage, but it's growing, and it's really going to be something I think that we can all be proud of, and maybe eventually even expand into some adult ed type of opportunities for our community.
Definitely. I like the variety of ELOs here is like all over the place. And it's really cool to show the wide variety of what our students are interested in. And this is stuff that they like have an interest like for a career or something. So it's really cool to see. Any questions on that?
I had a question about the New Hampshire afterschool.org stuff. So looking at the additional tutoring and things, and I know I've seen it advertised maybe on TV or on websites or something like that, but there are extra supports that are available through the statewide resource. So that sounds like it's an interesting opportunity. I don't know of anyone that's actually utilized that yet.
It's an interesting opportunity, and the main concern among the superintendents is the fact that how many of our students, and the state has been talking about the fact that it's safe, right? But there's 24-hour access to tutors, which is great, as long as you have a good tutor. But I like to see it vetted. I like to see it worked out a little bit more. I don't need kids online with adults that think that I'm promoting it from the school. I'm very, very cautious about the things that I promote from here. Like, just because someone is teaching some type of a lesson, I don't necessarily promote it from the school, because that sometimes makes parents think that I have vetted it, and I know there's a great deal of trust if I put my name or I put the school behind something. And I am really kind of waiting to see what would potentially happen with that tutoring, that online tutoring piece. We feel right now that we are capable. Crystal Smith has done a lot of work getting the tutoring program that we have set up. We are using ESSER 3 funds to provide tutoring to kids in the school building by our own teachers that know them. So we are working, in that capacity. But who's to say in another couple of months, if, other school districts are reporting great success with the online tutoring program, we may follow suit with it also. Treading lightly at this point.
Just doing the math up here for how many students, you have 21 VLAX, 12 in Edgenuity, 2 in HiSET, and A17 ELO. There's about 30-ish, 20-ish other students. I don't know if I'm just doing, if there's something else that they're doing.
2 plus 17 is not 79, you're correct.
Yeah. So I was just curious what they were doing.
Maybe is it the guided study hall?
It could be the guided study hall, that may be. So
Okay.
we do a structured study hall in that space also
That's okay.
for students that need just a little extra help.
Yeah, just a little more support. All right.
So just another question on the New Hampshire afterschool.org and your concerns about it. Why wouldn't that organization provide something in the idea of a background check for those tutors that we would access?
That's exactly what the discussion is at the superintendent level. Like, should we be fingerprinting these people? Should they be fingerprinting? Should we look at it? Truly, anybody that works in the school, I fingerprint and look at their fingerprints, right? I see all of that. So that is the discussion, the main discussion, Kathleen, that they are having is who is really vetting these people. And I've listened to the lawyer from the state, and she's very good and very competent, and they think they have figured out a way to accommodate us so not everybody is vetting every tutor. So we'll wait and see what they come up with.
Good to be cautious.
Good to be cautious. All right. Anything else on that one?
Does that website have to go through the vetting process as the rest of our apps and such?
I've been told that it has already been passed through the co-board, or the consortium.
All right. Hope it's you again. NHSBA delegate or something.
Yeah. Here they are. It was an interesting day. They started off with, I'll go to the delegate. This does not match up to the notes I took when I was there, so I was like, there was a couple of them I know that you guys talked about, you were interested in. Number 5 was about the permanent funding for school breakfast and lunch. That was the one that the New Hampshire School Board was not for, because they said they already had 18 budget things. I did ask the question, well, do those have to do with lunch? They're like, no.
All right, good job.
So, and I also did mention our concern about the funding formulas. If we go with that, we have to be super careful about how that affects the funding formulas and stuff like that. So, but that passed. You know, that was one. There was, I think, 2 or 3 that passed regardless of NHSBA. So, nothing, I don't think here, you know, the remote participation was on that, they're on there twice, right? That's,
Oh, because one was from last year.
yeah.
Yeah, one was having to do with just allowing people to participate remotely, and one other one has to do with quorum. So.
Yes, and the quorum one, I just asked that they clarify the committee, you know, the committees, and it really isn't to do this committee, the school board. It's really only
Like subcommittees.
the subcommittees.
Oh.
Although I think the wording was a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
So it was good. It was interesting. I'm glad I went. It was kind of, when they were doing the parliamentary process, they were getting tripped up a lot on their own processes. So I'm like, it was a little hard to keep track of.
When you only do it once a year,
It was,
you know,
it was very interesting. And then Monadnock did a presentation to start with. That was really, really good. And we do have it. It's in, they sent it out to everybody. And it was, they basically decided to do the, you know, they got the school board of the year award or whatever. So they just went through their process of how they did a self-assessment, and they looked at, you know, things they needed to work on, and the other thing they went over is that they had to do a policy overhaul. They had done none, and ended up paying, they had purchased a one-time policy review from NHSBA, and they also, they talked about some software. I talked to Amanda a little bit about it, that looked like it would make Amanda's life a whole lot easier. And I did call about some pricing information, and I can bring that up in finance and facilities. It seemed pretty spendy to me, and I think Amanda has done a lot of it. You know.
Martha, really?
And
I will pass the credit to Martha.
Yes. Yeah.
She really is quite good at policy work.
Right. But it seemed like it would be good in the sense that it would be easy to hand off. You know, it would be continual, and they had some very good data that went behind the policies and showed you graphically where you were, what you hadn't done. You know, I mean, it was pretty impressive. But it seemed kind of expensive to me. But, no, it was good. It was a good day.
Cool.
And I enjoyed it.
All right.
Thank you for participating.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. I'm really glad you got to go and experience that. Any other questions for Hope? All right. So, new business. We'll start with donation from the Jack and Dorothy Byrne Foundation for $25,000 for the MVRSD Student Wellness Initiative.
Make a motion to accept the $25,000 from Dorothy Byrne Foundation for that mental health.
All right.
Second.
And Danielle the second. Any further discussion on that? Enormous thanks to Dorothy Byrne and the Byrne Foundation, as always.
Absolutely.
Very much appreciate that. Our students very much appreciate that, and their mental health very much appreciates that.
And thanks to Caroline and Christy for doing the work and putting together the application packet, as well as, you know, it seems like from the updated, the September update, that she had also thought about how to make this more affordable, or what it was going to take by having a different type of student and overall budget. And so that's really helpful.
Has the district done anything like this before? Or do we have, you know, like this is like a second go at data, or just the first kind of initiative here?
Yeah, Caroline is really very much into the overall improvement of like mental health, and she would ideally like to work district-wide as sort of a mental health clinician for us. So that might be somewhere where we're headed in the future.
No, I found their core sentence right in here. The Student Wellness Initiative is an effort to create long-term sustainable frameworks for increased mental wellness across our district by implementing evidence-based programming and removing barriers to treatment. That's pretty simple, and that's awesome.
And it fits into our district strategic plan.
Yes.
Okay, call the vote here. All those in favor of accepting the donation from the Burn Foundation for $25,000 for student wellness initiatives, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Abstentions. All right. Okay, up next we have donation from the Friends of Mascoma for $1,000 for the EVS Blue Ribbon Celebration.
Make a motion to accept that for the $1,000 in Mascoma, Friends of Mascoma.
All right.
Second?
Kathleen with the second. Any discussion? And Mess, thank you to the Friends of Mascoma.
Wonderful, they deserve it.
Yeah, have a good party. You guys had a great, that's a big deal, so absolutely. Oh yeah, blue ribbon t-shirts, have the district drone capture the moment, a banner, absolutely. That's what we did for All for Canaan, and do it up for Enfield too, because put that feather in our cap, that's great. All right, any further discussion? I'll call the vote. All those in favor of approving the donation from Friends of Mascoma for $1,000 for the EVS Blue Ribbon Celebration signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Abstentions. All right. Policy time. Fun. All right. Got a bunch of first readings, so if someone would like to lump them together, there's one on the last page too.
All of them.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. Somebody make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept for first reading policy EBB's school safety program, policy EBBD indoor air quality and water quality, policy EHAB data governance and security, policy EHB data records retention and destruction, policy DFA investment, and policy DFGA crowdfunding.
All right.
I'll second.
And Kathleen with a second. All right, we'll start with the first one there. Policy EBB, School Safety Program, first reading. This is just an annual review, or did something change on this? I forget.
There are some changes, and this helped to consolidate some of the other policies that we have around. All of the policies you see here tonight are required by law and have been updated with all legal standards as they have changed in the last year.
Okay. All right. Any questions on EBB school safety? Basically talks about what our safety plans have to have. Our safety program should include X, Y, and Z. All stuff that we already have.
So this is overall a new policy that helps remove some of the other policies that we've got.
I was just looking at the reviewed first reading from January of this year, but then this kind of consolidates a
Yes.
bunch of it. All right. Okay, so there's that one. Indoor, let's see, EBBD, indoor air quality and water quality. This is new. This is also new, right?
This is new as in it adds water quality.
Right.
So the pieces of water quality are newly added to the policy of indoor air quality.
Okay, questions on that? It has a blank there for the superintendent will make recommendations to the board for any modifications that involve expenditures greater than.
So that is a question I have for you all. I think they recommended $1,000, but you could remove that totally, or you could put in the recommended amount, or we could ask you for permission for $500 or $10,000 or whatever you would like the threshold to be.
But what would the money be spent on? How would we, where are we talking this money is going to be designated for what?
Any issues that we might have with water quality, say lead or remediation or anything like that.
Okay, so we have a history of having a problem with the high school water, right?
I've sent out lead letters in previous years and not one, I believe, from the high school since we changed the well.
Well, I'm referring to like the salt content.
The salt content, yeah.
And the bad taste.
Yeah, yeah.
That. So, I'm just wondering how that would affect the current experience that we've had with our water quality. Because it ends up that we were providing bottled water. They weren't drinking from those designated water stations that are in this under B. So if you're not using the designated water station and you're using bottled water, and that's an additional expense, that could be an ongoing expense
Could be,
that we wouldn't be able to anticipate.
right.
it's kind of, out there so that it's open to interpretation, which way you want to use this.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it could be anything as simple as water filters, or buying a bottle of water, or doing an overhaul of the system, you know.
Right.
So it can be anywhere, and I think by limiting the amount of money, then, they can't just go out and buy like a whole new water system without us approving it. But it gives them the freedom to like, okay, we're gonna upgrade this filter because we can do a $500
Correct.
upgrade or something like that to a filter and do it quickly. I'm guessing that's why they made that.
That's exactly what
Okay.
it is, Tim.
Okay.
So I think we also have another policy or procedure that we gave the business administrator a cap on making decisions for a certain, up to a certain expense. I think we increased it to 10,000, but I could be wrong on the figure. That you don't have to come to the board to get permission prior to authorizing the work to be done up to 10,000, is that correct?
I don't remember the amount off, do you know, remember? Let's go with your knowledge that you
Sure.
have.
I'm just
You're right.
guessing, but.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Make those consistent.
Well, yeah, I would think it would fall under that, and just to be consistent, we would put the same figure in
Yeah.
here.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because it does say the superintendent or designate.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you can choose to, the school board association says you can choose to put them out there or delete it totally. So I want to put that in front of the board,
Oh, okay.
whether you just wanted to, we'll make the repairs as necessary and let you know, or if you want to put a limit on it so that we have to ask before we go over $10,000 or something like that.
When you're talking about water, there's an urgency there.
Yeah.
It's not.
That is
like-
correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah, yeah, you kind of need the water right away.
So
Otherwise, you can't be open.
you gotta be able to make a decision.
Where would you normally take the money from? And what, I don't.
Oh, I don't know,
Flush
when we
water.
lost the well, where did we take the money from? So that's, a prime example, right? We
Yeah.
had to do all the work, we lost the well pump.
Yep.
That was sort of emergency stuff that we needed to handle right away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, where did we pull that money from?
We do have an emergency repair line.
Yeah, I did notice he put a few unexpected repairs in his lines, but
Yeah.
you find it where you can. I mean, if we remove it, then they would just be empowered to make whatever repairs need to be made and then let us know after the fact. We can set a very high limit, which gives them a lot of freedom. We can set a very low limit if we want to, but I
I'm
don't
in
want to.
favor of removing it because I'm happy with the procedure that we already follow.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Kathleen, and I think your point about having it somewhere else for the business administrator already has that
covered, yeah.
authority. I think
Yeah.
that's great. Appreciate that.
All right, good deal. Anything else on indoor air quality and water quality? All right, moving on to the next one. Data governance and security, EHAB. This one, we last reviewed in 2019, and this has some legal updates as data governance has changed and stuff, I'm sure, from the state.
Yeah, and specifically, this policy has been updated for the area of cyber security and all the legal pieces that go with that.
Well, I'm very glad Craig is on top of things. I don't know about you guys, but I've gotten some weird spam.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of you got weird spam from me.
I did.
I've gotten spam from Craig.
Did you go buy them in the gift cards?
She got emails from me saying, I'm stuck at a conference, Kathleen, can you please buy some Amazon gift cards?
No, I didn't get that one.
And he wouldn't be home, he wouldn't be out home until after midnight. You're like, oh, sure, that sounds like Tim, all right.
It's like, I don't know, this one sounds real. But no,
They
there's some
started
good,
laughing.
there's been some tricky ones, so I'm glad that Craig is on top of this. So. But this is all very legalese, and I am happy that the lawyers have reviewed it. So, any other questions on those? And I assume
It's a
that
good one.
then Craig is our ISO, right? Our
Correct.
District Information Security.
Yeah.
Sure is.
Wonderful. All right, next one. EHB, data records retention and destruction. Oh yes, they updated the state law about this over the past year. And so this talks about how long we have to legally hold on to stuff and what does it mean to hold on to stuff, and what is sensitive information that you need to destroy, that sort of thing.
Correct.
What major change, what major change did you see on this, Amanda?
So I think you're looking at the cybersecurity piece again, once again, and the destruction of electronic records. Yeah, it's just some updates as far as, the legal procedure goes and the dates for things to be destroyed, which they do tend to change quite a bit. Those tend to change quite often.
Yeah, it might, like the electronic media, just destruction of it, like overwrite it 3 times and then demagnetize it and then crush it and grind it.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. All right, any questions on that one? Okay. And investment DFA. This is also a required one, right? Yes. So we reviewed this back in 2020, and
This one we looked at finance.
Yes, we
facilities.
did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you guys make any changes?
A little bit.
yeah, very slight. What was
Yeah.
it in?
It was basically the first paragraph where Mascoma Valley Regional School Board authorizes the school treasurers. We changed that because it didn't talk about the treasurer or the superintendent. And basically that we just changed it from what ours said to, this is essentially the NHSBA's verbiage here.
It's very similar to what we already had,
It is, yeah. it's
which
just-
was already all.
Ours talked about following the current recommendation for the government, GASD, Government Accounting Standards Board, pursuant to, which 19723, which we do have that. It really hasn't changed other than us adding that school district treasurer working in conjunction with the superintendent. That really is the only difference there. Everything here is the same. And then, I still have a little, I finally figured out what was bothering me about this.
Which was it? Because
Well, so it's all the same, except that first paragraph. To
safety.
the NHSBA, but the internal
yeah.
control paragraph, number 3, has always been driving me crazy.
Oh,
And I
yield.
finally figured out why.
Oh, yeah.
And I did tell you that I would speak to NHSBA about it, but I did not do that. I know, it's my bad.
Well, we'll look at a second reading if you want to come back with it.
Well, yeah, and it's basically, and I think it is something I can talk to them about. It says the internal control should be reviewed periodically by the school board and an independent auditor. And I finally figured out today what was bothering me is that when you go to our, the audit engagement letter, it specifically says they won't do that. So it just, and I knew there was some sort of disconnect there.
Yeah, we
and
need to find a
finally was
different
like,
auditor for that
it's
specific.
the engagement letter. It specifically says, management is responsible and we will not take responsibility for it unless you do jump through some extra hoops or something. So that, I could look and call NHSBA about that
Yeah, see what they.
before the second
Right.
meeting.
I mean, the three objectives are in this order: safety, liquidity, and yield. And
This
so,
is very boilerplate.
Yeah, very
stuff.
boilerplate.
Yeah.
so safety is utmost, then liquidity, so we can get it if we need it, and then yield is last.
I would also add one word here. The investment of funds will be left to discretion of the finance committee. I would put designated finance committee because our finance committee does not do it.
Where does that hold?
It's the
Last.
second to last sentence. In other words, they're talking about is it Northern Trust or Northern Charter Trust or, that's who they're talking about, they're referring
Discretion of the
to.
designated.
This is simply the like the capital fund, the funds that are.
Like your usual funds.
Like the fund manager.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're talking about the fund manager here, not us. Because we're not, the finance committee, the subcommittee doesn't have that discretion. I don't think, unless I'm reading it
Maybe.
wrong. I don't want it.
Good catch.
We could certainly designate it.
Independent auditor there.
Yeah. All right. Good on that one then? Is there anything else for that?
No.
Anyone else? All right. That one, and then DGFA, this is the only one that's not required by law. This one's recommended. This is crowdfunding. So this is a new policy, if I'm not mistaken. And this has to do with things, you know, like the teachers, donors choose, and was it Go to Classroom and other ones like that, where like teachers can crowdfund for a small, you know, thing in their classroom and stuff. So this kind of talks about what crowdfunding is, which there will be official approved crowdfunding sites, because if you're putting it out there with our name on it, you want to make sure it's a legitimate site, not like Uncle Bob's crowdfunding.net, you know. And then talking about the approval process, talking about, you know, the building principal should approve it. If it's over $250, then the superintendent needs to look at it, up to $500, and if it's over $500 for crowdfunding, then they need to come to the board. So.
Okay, again, I think we already have a policy in place about fundraising, and then they have forms to fill out through the business administrator.
Correct.
Yeah, this is.
I just wonder, how popular is this? Does it happen a lot in?
It does. Believe it or not, we do have a lot of teachers that are looking at the GoFundMe or what's the other one?
Donors Choose.
Donors
is the one
Choose
that's-
is the one that they really want to do. And I do need, they're looking for permission to do this and looking for a policy procedure. So if I had something that I could say, okay, yes, you can do that, or to the principals, yes, your people can use these revenue sources, but you need to follow these rules and regulations.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're asking people either in the community or their personal networks for money to do a thing, you want to make sure that it's a legitimate thing, and so.
And the fundraising policy that we have is more geared towards kind of like student activities or groups in that
Yeah,
nature
it's-
for the most part, as opposed to teachers asking specifically for classroom needs or enhancing the classroom experience.
Like I have a friend who's a teacher, so I gave money to her Donors Choose, and she was buying like small MP3 players and headsets for like to read along with books or something like that. And so that was like going to be $450, and so she was going to crowdfund from that. So yeah, little things, I guess.
But do they get recorded with the business administrator?
No.
Not necessarily, but they will with this policy.
Do we need to make a corresponding, like the FGA, is it R, or whatever, you know? form?
That for a form, yes.
Yeah, they come with a form for it, yeah.
That would not be a bad idea, because we
Yeah.
do have people that want to do it. Like I said, the oversight, I mean, most of the time they ask, sometimes they don't.
Well, it would also be good to know what kinds of things, you know, maybe didn't make it into the budget or are time sensitive, and so they can't wait the 18 months or so to go through that process, or they don't meet the threshold for any of those things. But it would be good to know when those things come up, so that we have a more comprehensive view of what it takes to run our classes. And then it also could be something, again, where we think about community support and community input. Maybe there's a way to communicate these sort of projects as part of how the community supports our students and staff. We'd have to think about it a little bit on how to frame it, because we wouldn't necessarily want to hyper promote these things.
Right.
You know what I mean? But is there a way to represent things once they've already happened, to kind of be that listing?
I've had a few instances where there's some fundraising going on in my outside group that's not necessarily associated with the school, and they do a little bit of fundraising, and then they make a donation. And I approve the donation or bring it to the board if necessary.
Right.
So that happens sometimes right now with this sort of crowdfunding issue, but it'd be nice to have a policy in place to have it be clear for everyone.
Yeah,
And link it to what we already have currently.
yeah, and it can even reference our existing fundraising, just to see also, just because you never know, they might be like, hey, I want to do a bigger thing. Are these, and also what I was thinking, because if you catch what they're buying with it, we may see like year after year, why are they buying the same things with their GoFundMe's? Like maybe that's a need that we didn't know about.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's similar to the mini grants for Friends of Mascoma that are submitted.
Yeah.
We are, do you guys sign off, our building principals sign off?
Oh, we all sign off now because we've had to refine that process.
Okay, so it's kind of similar to that. So we're kind of,
Yes.
we're just
Streamline.
more structure so that there's a little bit more
And
process.
you're exactly right. We do want to know what the things are that teachers are all of a sudden like, oh my gosh, I need construction paper. Well, maybe you should have, maybe we already have the construction paper, but you didn't realize it. So we're trying to really make sure that we're not reaching out if we already have things provided.
I didn't even think of that, where like you could be like, oh no, we already have some of that. Don't bother with it now. You can save that crowd because you're only. I would hope. Wait, does it say how many they can do a year? Because I'd be curious about that. I don't want to limit anybody, but I guess if it's excessive, you would know. I guess you would say, you've had 8 this year. I think that's enough.
Yeah. I think this is a better way to manage
agree,
that,
I agree.
and then we know that things are going through rough.
Are these
Look at it.
These dollar amounts, they're okay? 250.
I went
500?
low on the dollar amounts, like they gave a range.
Yeah.
And I will say that, I didn't pick the dollar amounts for you or suggest them here in this one, just because that's, what I see as sort of reasonable in a classroom.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking for something at $250, I really want to know what that is.
Right.
Yeah.
We really want to know, or if it's at $500, you really should have my permission before you're moving forward with that type of a program.
Yeah.
Because that's a pretty significant piece of equipment or whatever you're looking to add.
Yeah.
And then again, there was a recent news story about a break-in to a school, and there was cash in the classroom because the teacher was fundraising. And it's like, why was there cash in there in the first place?
Mm-hmm. Several $100s, and then the kids couldn't go on their field trip to the pumpkin patch.
Right.
Is that what it was?
So
And then they did.
something like
The kids
that.
got to go to the pumpkin patch. And all.
Yeah.
Don't worry, but somebody stole all their money.
But it's
worried.
that's over trouble to keep
Yeah.
that cash in your classroom.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that kind of thing you would want to get a handle on.
That's right.
Fortunately, it wasn't in our district.
Mhm.
Because we got cameras.
That's right.
One of the other things when I was reading this, I was I had in mind like the donors choose type things, but there are mentions of kind of like student-based crowdfunding, and I'm a little more on the fence about that.
Where is that? I'd be happy to read that.
Well, maybe it was just
It
the
was
no
very hard
employee
to-
or student will be compelled. Yeah, I'd have to go back and look and see where exactly it was. Maybe it's just it's some sort of reference about that you basically can't, that we have in the other policy. You can't compel someone to participate in fundraising. But when you think about the field trips to DC coming up, working with the tour group, that there essentially is a way for students to crowdfund for their portion of the trip.
Yeah.
Because you have a link with a website that you can send out to your grandparents, and they can,
That's what my
they
dad's.
do that.
Where's
right?
the link? Where's
Yeah.
the link?
So I just want to make sure that we're not needing to have students go through that process in order, or if that fits under here, or if it's just not. If there's a way that we can frame this so that it refers to crowdfunding use cases with staff, I feel a little bit more comfortable, because we already have the process for the field trips. We've already approved them. We know that with the tour package, that's part of I mean, that's part of the appeal.
Yeah.
Is having that ability to be able to spread the funds in addition to any fundraising that happens by student groups. To have that kind of.
So are you like saying we should prohibit students from fundraising independently?
It's really touchy.
Well, I'm thinking of another story that was out there a while ago where a student did a GoFundMe page for her senior project. And what she did is she raised cash to give to a specific teacher to pay off her college debt. And no one individual should ever benefit from a senior project like that. It's too personal.
It's pretty personal.
It's not ethical either, in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
and I could see where students would get lost.
Yeah.
With the immaturity, I think they're doing this great thing and helping someone, but I would like to see the fundraising go through a level of like the supervisor, the teacher, the advisor to the clubs, whatever. They are not independent rogue students going out there and asking for money.
I mean, we could put a sentence in here saying that this policy does not apply to, regularly approved fundraising through for student trips or something like that, or, to take care of that. But then also, as far as students themselves, like this policy is intended for staff use, not student. For staff-led crowdfunding, not student-led crowdfunding.
But not prohibiting student participation in the approved
Of course.
fundraising.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, because the second paragraph, it refers to Mascoma Valley Regional School Board recognizes that crowdfunding campaigns and other forms of online fundraising have become increasingly popular, by which teachers and school-sponsored activities or organizations can procure funding.
That should stop an individual student.
Yeah, I would think so. And then also it says, if you're not approved, you cannot use our logo, you cannot use our name, you cannot use your district email address, you cannot say you're an employee here, you cannot, So if you're just like, I'm a teacher, come help me, then do it on your own, but don't use our name. Like, that's one thing, I guess. Yeah. Getting a link to our mascot, link to our website, link to our social media platform, anything. So, all right. Anything else on this?
Amanda, is there anything that you think we should add or subtract to make this more, there's more approachable but also more enforceable?
Yeah.
No, I think actually, as I'm really looking through it, I need to come up with a form, so this needs a form also. I think Part C really spells out what the request needs to look like, so we'll be looking at creating a fillable form for that. And I like Section B, as I put back, just because it really does spell out what you cannot do, or this is unapproved, prohibited. So I do really appreciate Section B. I really think the process in Section C is quite thorough. It does talk about the employee, right? So it limits us to an employee. You have to work for the district in order to be able to crowd fund on behalf of the district.
Right.
So I really do like that. I guess I'll need to look for a designee to create the approved site list.
I would put the site list right on the form, even. I would say you can only use these sites, so that way there's no question, I didn't know I couldn't use Uncle Bob's school
I mean, of
fund.
course, the sites change over time, so you might want to.
Right, yeah, okay,
something like,
yeah. Review it yearly. Every couple of years or whatever.
It's a subject that will need constant review.
And it might need some tweaking. This is the first time having something like this, so maybe there'll be tweaks after knowing the process.
Yeah, so if teachers have feedback after seeing this, please have them let us know, because I would like to make it that works for them, but also covers their butts, so, and covers their butt too, so. Did we want to, we don't think, okay. Okay, any other questions or comments or discussion on that one?
So we'll move it forward like this. we'll create the form with a list of approved sites as soon as Rob finishes that.
All right. I mean, there's no, it doesn't, the only thing I know
Once
is,
you get a bid on it, you'll be all set.
yeah,
There we go.
there's no action saying, like, if somebody does go out and say that we are, I mean, I would assume that we would send them a letter saying, knock it off.
Yeah, Rob is right on it.
Yeah.
Wrongly worded letters.
Strong.
So
Yeah.
are we
Going in their permit
including the form in with the policy or
No,
just reference?
excuse me, no, the form will be DFGAF. So we'll create it for next time.
Okay.
All right. Everybody's favorite
First
form.
reading on this one out of the way.
All right. So that's all those policies. Okay. Any other discussion on any of those policies we just worked on?
So we do have some tweaking on some.
We do have some tweaks. Is it people want to review the tweaks that we made, or do we, you all know what
We
we?
can do the tweaks and still review for second.
Yeah, we can, yeah.
Yeah,
we
I
can
have
see it.
I have
All
a
right.
running list of what
All
we
right.
had. I had EBB was all set.
All right.
EBBD, I had to remove the sentence with the limits.
Yep.
EHAB was all set, as was EHB.
Yep.
DFA, I have highlighted changes that I will give to Martha.
Okay.
And DFGA is all set.
Sounds
We'll
good.
All right.
include a form.
Well, thank you for putting those all together, and thank you everybody for doing that. So, all right. All those in favor of first reading, approval for first reading, policy EBB, EBBD, EHAB, EHB, DFA, and DFGA, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed and abstentions. All right.
Love those policy
I
plans.
do. I feel like an auctioneer.
Good. Yeah.
You are.
In another life, perhaps. Now where did I read the agenda? Oh, it's right in front of me. Okay. What else do we have? Agenda items for next meeting. We'll have committee reports, quarterly reports.
Are we still getting quarterlies from food service and butlers? Or are we?
I don't think
Sure.
Yeah, they should have one by now. Coming up.
I'm not gonna add those for the sake of time.
Right.
I will add those to the next meeting.
That makes sense. Yeah, typically we've done the schools on one and then
Right.
everybody else
That's
on
true.
others. Yeah, and I mean, if there's someone else besides the four schools, like Chris Bezo or something, if you want him the next week to make
Okay.
it for interest, split it between the. I
Split
don't
up a
know.
little bit.
Yeah.
I would agree, sometimes it gets quite long.
Yep. All right. Anything else for next meeting that you can think of? All right. Public comment?
No,
No?
no.
Aw, Dan. All right.
We need to go home.
Yeah. Limit to 5 minutes anyway, so.
I have a question on public comment for, it was something Dan did bring up about
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
the
I did.
minutes, when we changed it, it looks like, the policy,
BEDH.
thank you.
Public comment?
We changed that.
So it's coming at you again.
Is it again?
Your comment, don't worry, you'll see it. It might be on a pile on my desk, but it is coming at you again. The new regulation
Yeah.
of 30 minutes total.
Yeah.
But there are multiple ways that we could handle that. I've never seen this board deny public speaking time to
No.
people. And I think that was really what was happening with the laws, that other boards were denying the public a chance to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
But ours
Because they got
says
3 hour
5
board
minutes per
meetings.
person, and that
that's,
was enough.
and ours, that's a generous, so you all have been generous in the 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Most other districts only allow 3.
Right. I thought ours did, and then we changed it to 5, so I guess I,
What's that? We've always
We've
been.
got
it's always been
Yeah.
5.
Always
Yeah,
been 5
yeah.
since I've been on, and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we-
Well, except when the chairman suspended it for about 3 months.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Before my time.
Yes.
But, I mean, that being the case, if we have a room full of people and every single person wants to speak, in the interest of time, we can say, shall we limit it to 3 minutes and then let everybody speak, and then if you have something else to speak, you can
Come back.
Come back.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Wasn't there also something in the most recent law that says that bodies are not supposed to make decisions in the first 30 minutes of a meeting or something?
Oh, I didn't see
about
that. I didn't see that.
Maybe that's just a city council or
Let's
like a specific type of thing.
Yeah, I don't know that to be specific to
That's-
boards.
Okay.
It's not even paid, it's not with us, it's not with our school board,
That's right.
no.
All right.
Were you still on public comment?
Yeah, I get, yeah.
I just wanted to bring up the article in the Valley
Oh, yeah,
News
go ahead.
about the Republican and the Democrat debate at the State House and how I guess they're considering legislating how grievances are filed around the curriculum choices.
Oh, was that on like the front page of the Valley News of the day?
Yes.
Yeah, I read that, yeah.
And I thought part of the article was very misleading. It wasn't accurate, and they did have a quote from Merritt Christina from the New Hampshire School Board Association, which kind of brought things around. But as it concerns this district, I think we're way ahead of what they're talking about down at the State House, and I wouldn't want them to come in here and start telling us that we're not reviewing our curriculum. We
Yeah.
have to change it in different ways.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point. No, I mean, I feel as a parent, our district has been very receptive to hearing parents concerned. I mean, there are plenty of parents to say the opposite, I'm sure, as was ever anything, but that's a good point. Yeah, so hopefully, we'll see what they do. Yes?
I have just one other thing, which is that the Friends of Mascoma trailer will be down at the field on Wednesday. Hopefully park there until Sunday. We're collaborating on a food drive to correspond with the home boys soccer playoff games, thinking that there will be a good crowd.
Okay,
So-
bring canned goods and all that.
To get a win Wednesday.
That's what, tomorrow night, right? Tomorrow afternoon, 3 o'clock?
Yeah,
They got a win Wednesday.
First round.
Sunday.
that is correct.
Yeah.
All right.
But
Who are they playing?
always thinking positive.
That's right.
Who are they playing tomorrow?
Fall Mountain.
Fall Mountain, bring it on. Let's do it.
So boys soccer is the number 3 seed with a 13, 2-1
Very good.
record,
Very good
and
record,
got 2 wins against Fall Mountain.
All right, let's do it again. Make it 3. And I'll also remind everybody that this weekend in the auditorium is Clue, put on by the Mascoma Drama Club. Excellent production. I highly recommend going to it. I'll be at both shows. So. Anything else for public comment? Anything else from the board? Chit chat? Whatnot? All right. Last thing we have up here is personnel resignations, nominations. As you see in front of you, we have a bunch of renewals for almost all coaches. Any questions on those? And one resignation.
Yes.
All right. I'll entertain a motion on those.
Accept the nominations and the resignations as presented.
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. So all those in favor of the nominations as presented and the resignation as presented, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Abstentions. All right. There's that. And we have non-public.
Yep, motion to go out of non-public.
All right.
Second.
Either one of you out there.
Yeah.
All right. Brewster?
Yes.
Danielle? Tim? Yes. Kathleen? Hope?
Yes.
All right. We are in non-public. And we will not be back after, so good night, everybody.